The Rico legacy started, as most people might remember, with John Rico in the 1920s when he took on a full-time job at age 15. His mother, my grandmother, said that it was better that he had a job than a diploma. And in the 1920s, that was pretty prevalent. So my dad went to work, and then a few years later, a young journalist went next door to the Vacaville Theater, and he saw a young woman playing the piano between movies, and it was Grace Giardino. And the two of them were married, and John and Grace Rico then started shoulder to shoulder to create the newspaper that ultimately others in the community started to take over. You can appreciate and imagine the population of Vacaville pre-World War II. Just a few thousand people and a newspaper to match. I was raised in the newspaper. It was not unlike a small family mom and pop grocery store that happened to be a newspaper. So every day chores after school, learning the trade, trying to grow myself as the newspaper in the community grew, and it really started to grow rapidly after World War II. Most people in the community, though, relied heavily on the conduit of the newspaper because there was no social media. And many of them even knew what day the press would run. Even though they were a subscriber, they couldn't stand and wait for it to arrive in mail because we didn't have house-to-house delivery. So they would frequently stop by the reporter when the press was rolling and pick up a copy, and the next day they got another one in the mail. The Reporter was a once-a-week paper for a number of years, became a twice-a-week paper in 1960, 3 times in 76, and 5 times in 1983, which was the 100th anniversary of the Reporter. And by the way, that was manifested by us dedicating the 3-flag monument and Christmas tree on Main Street to say thank you to the community for its years of support. This event is about our newspaper, the community's newspaper, and the Rico family's newspaper, the Vacaville Reporter, at least for the last 70 or 75 years. It's also the newspaper of hundreds, if not thousands, of professionals who left their mark on the paper, those people who have worked on it, journalists, salespeople, production people, who made the newspaper what it became.
So I came to the Reporter in the summer of 1976. Said, here you have an opening. The next day I had an interview, and then they showed me around, and it was production day, and there's Kathy Garvey and Richard standing at the pay step table, putting together the first 5 news pages of that day's edition. And I thought to myself, wow, if the publisher is laying out the front page, what the hell are they gonna make me do?
The thing that I remember probably most about the Reporter is the people that we spent a lot of time with. It became a lifestyle. It was something that we enjoyed doing.
It became like a family. Everybody watches out for everybody else. Great camaraderie, great support.
Everybody was friends. You socialized with everybody. You worked with them. We had a good time.
Excellent chance to learn what community journalism really is, and you got to meet and understand how a town works, who's responsible for making the decisions and how well they make them. And
The interstate running through the city and a state prison and a U.S. Air Base nearby. A lot of activity, a lot of social change, a lot of development going on.
My beat was the prep beat, so I covered all the high school teams. The Friday Night Lights was great, still have great memories of that. Basketball, baseball.
You know, I knew that they covered a lot of preps and stuff like that. So I used to like try to give them perks to go out and cover the A's and Giants and 49ers. And we tried. We were a very hard-working staff.
When I got to the Reporter, oh my God, it was amazing. I mean, they were taking the most amazing photographs. They were playing them big. The graphics were gorgeous.
I first showed up on the scene as far as a reporter is concerned in 1975. I had my first photo published. I was still in high school. And I worked as a stringer for about 3 years, getting paid by the photo, so I was rushing to fires and accidents and whatever assignments they'd throw my way. And I think at the time I was getting paid $2 or $3 per photo, and glad to do it even though it cost me more to produce it. It was a great time.
I was a photographer part-time while I was in high school, and right when I graduated, I got offered a full-time job by Rico as the chief staff photographer. So I was thrilled to death. It was the happiest day of my life.
When I first started, it was done by pencil and paper, and then it went to paginations. Later on, got a lot faster.
I just remember the pages were about 3 feet wide. And it dense, 12 pica wide columns. You just had to write and write and write and write to run giant photos.
You were so creative. We recognize that it's not only the reader, and it's about selling banners for downtown Vacaville during Merriment on Main. It's about let's create a homes magazine. We were always up on what's the next person doing that we can copy or that we can do better than them. And I think that that's where we really succeeded. We really thought outside the box, and I think we did things that other newspapers our size never thought of doing.
TheReporter.com. Try to get that one today. Try to grab that. But Jim Murky and the folks back then said this is going to happen. So let's get the web address that is really going to make us distinctive. And the fact that we are TheReporter.com, really is an indication of how early we got into the game.
Because it was a newspaper, it was a mix of the adrenaline to cover news mixed in with the fraternity sorority kind of atmosphere.
You could walk by the newsstand in the morning and you see the Sacramento Bee, the San Francisco Chronicle, and we were every bit as good.
We all were so proud of ourselves for what we accomplished.
I can't look at my life, I can't look at my family without it being intricately tied with the Reporter.
I left the Reporter 31 years ago, and it still feels like it was yesterday. It just, the time has stood still.
We captured our audience and we really had them, and it was just exciting to be part of community journalism, because that's why I was there and that's why I stayed so long.
We were all young, we all loved our job, and we had a publisher who said, let's go cover it all and let's do it really well. And that showed in the long list of awards from CMPA that we received over the years, rightly deserved.
We were the only voice in the community to speak of, and people looked to us for those kinds of opinions, advice, and leadership, and we tried to provide it. We became an integral part of the town in which I personally was born, just a few blocks from Main Street. Been here all my life, wouldn't think of doing anything else, and it was my good luck and good fortune that I was born to a couple of people, John and Grace Rico, who were passionate about the newspaper that they built and that I was able to take over where they left off.